I personally believe that the greatest trigger of action in terms of change is aspiration. Understanding what these young people aspire to be. And if they haven't figured that out, guiding them to that.
So I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Paradigm Project. And a big piece of work that we're doing at the moment, for me, it was been figuring out where can we make a difference? What can we do that is going to change the experience for these young people?
My work with communities is about making that change in as every small way I can through the organizations I run, through the books I've written, Can You Hear Me, which talks about hearing the voices of young people, getting to understand where they're coming from, the challenges they face. This is echoes from our community, echoes that resonate with so many of us in terms of the stories we tell that connect to everybody out there in terms of education, motivation, and engaging, where real stories connect to genuine minds. And, before we came on air, a question was asked about what can we do even to impact, to make a change that we need to make. Personally, I have a lot to say, but just for this part, I just want to say that my work with families, my work with communities is about making that change in as every small way I can through the organizations I run, through the books I've written, Can You Hear Me, which talks about hearing the voices of young people, getting to understand where they're coming from, the challenges they face, even from their homes and the school system and the system generally. It's also about looking at families that are going through a lot and they don't even know the answers to their solutions, whether it's the prison system, the school system, the health system. So these are the things, that is what I'm working on. But we're all doing something. We're all here to do something. And what can we do is what we're looking at. And Davlin, what do you have to say?
Yeah. So for me, my stance on this question, I personally believe that the greatest trigger of action in terms of change is aspiration. Understanding what these young people aspire to be. And if they haven't figured that out, guiding them to that. Once they figure out that, it's the ultimate motivation. It's the ultimate trigger for change. One thing I've also identified is the disparity between our young people and the opportunities or spaces that they're trying to get into. There are barriers, invisible barriers that, you can't physically see, but they exist. So I'm very much focused on trying to bridge the gap in and around those areas. Whether it's multifaceted, there might be, just opportunity, number one. Another thing is funding. Connecting people to the resources that they need in order to fulfill their dreams,
That's a good one.
So for me, if we can make movement, if we can make change, if we can provide people with these much needed resources, I believe that, we'll begin to see changes. So that's what I'm focused on personally.
Thank you so much. Joel?
I guess mine is coming from two different angles, academic and through the work that I'm doing. So I'm currently finishing my master's at the University of Cambridge, where I'm researching dismantling the school to prison pipeline. And I'll be continuing in October to do my PhD on the same topic. My master's is all about centering the lived experience of parents who have had excluded children, and centering the lived experience of children who have been permanently excluded from school. For me, that has to be the starting point. Often when we center lived experience, and co-production is a buzzword that's used a lot in our space, and it can be very extractive, and it can exploit, and it can re-traumatize. So for me, as someone that's been put in the box as a lived experience leader, I wanted to center that in my research. And how can I authentically engage and center the voice without being those things that can be harmful in that process, and using that as a starting point. So I'm doing that through a creative medium, partnering with an organization called Poetic Unity, so I can creatively get the expression of those voices in my research. Then we'll be doing a reflective piece with senior educators, and that's kind of where my research will sit. And I'll be expanding on that, going a lot deeper when I do PhD. And then through the work that I do, so I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Paradigm Project. And a big piece of work that we're doing at the moment, again, upstream, you'll hear me keep saying that. But the big piece of work is that we're looking at all of these big issues that we've discussed, right? And for me, it was been figuring out, where can we make a difference? What can we do that is gonna change the experience for these young people at a systemic level, but how can we have influence on that?
Yeah.
So
No, I was
you
just
saw
remembering
something.
because I was just thinking about what you've just said now, because we're looking at the small ways, and I think we've been having that conversations about even using something simple as a summer holiday program
Yeah.
to look at how do we do fun things so that they can start sensitizing themselves to the school transition and the emotional trauma that they go through, but do it in such a way that they're connecting to it. And those are the little ways that we can start doing things. So I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah, so that like you said, programs. So what we initially started with, our focus being on the transition from primary to secondary school. We think it's important to address children in the multiplicity of the context in which they exist. So we always had delivery for the children, for the parents, and for school staff. But the model that we're focusing on now is really looking through that local lens. And we have 5 groups that we focus on. So Black and minoritized, SEND, SEMH, children from care experience, and children from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And we look at 3 key transitions. So we look at early years into reception, key stage 1 to key stage 2, and primary to secondary. And we work with a local authority to understand how those groups are let down, or even how they're supported. But we do it through the lived experience of the people on the ground. We do that piece of exploratory research. And then with the recommendations that come out of the report, we implement a transitional safeguarding framework that looks to protect those groups through those critical transitions.
Fantastic.
Again, working across the board with students, parents, and school staff. And the programs then, like what you said, it then are not the silver bullet. We then can refer, whether it's our program or whether there's a local program that can do the work better than we can. I think that real heart of what collaboration actually is, it has to be separate from competition, right? So if I go into Tower Hamlets and there's said organisation already doing A, B, and C, it doesn't make sense that it's my program that comes in. I work with the organisations there to understand what they're doing. So a big part of that is bridging the gap between the solutions to the complex issues that exist within the community that can often only be understood by that community. So we do that piece of work. And I think the really key thing is, after we've established that first part of the journey, is the long-lasting relationship with the local authority. Is how do we sustain it? How do we measure it? How do we work alongside you to make sure that it's sustainable and meaningful change? So between the work that I'm doing academically and the work that my organisation is doing, we're really trying to tackle that kind of further upstream part of the issues, which I guess lead to these complex youth issues.
Thank you so much. Well, Lumi, just to preempt a bit, you're a poet. And one of the things you have done, which I'm always excited about, is when you come into a space and you use your gift to at least tell a story through poetry, and that resonates with the parents. And for me, that is powerful. But I don't know what other aspects of the solution do you want to talk about?
So with poetry, definitely amplifying the stories of those who are usually unheard, and giving language to it. So I'm very passionate about communication, and oftentimes I feel there's just different things that stop the message from being passed across in the way that the sender wants it to be received. So poetry is definitely a medium. I'm commissioned for different things, different projects. I've done work with your organization as well, but something I really enjoy is whenever I do workshops, going into schools, going into charities, even working with adults, because I also see communicating your emotions is very important. It is again a form of prevention as well. How do we process our emotions? How do we, from a psychological level as well, articulate things or difficult traumatic experiences in a way that doesn't re-traumatize, but in a way that moves us forward? So my PhD is in neuroscience, but specifically my topic was looking at a rare disorder called dopamine transporter deficiency syndrome. And whilst it was neuroscience heavy, I also had to dip into different therapeutic practices, and because this is on the spectrum of autism, ADHD, and also think for myself, what do I want to do after academia? And I made the risky decision to pivot out of academia after being there for so long. A lot of people, including family members, would have thought that's silly. Like, you are on a clear track to being a young professor. You're on a clear track to, like, I'm an associate fellow in higher education. I've helped redesign courses. I've taught. I've presented internationally papers in quite high impact journals. But then me choosing to pivot out of academia is wanting to apply the work I've done in not only corporate spaces, but different spaces that poetry puts me in, actually speaking to key decision makers and listening. I think that's another way I can help, listening. And that's a key part of being a poet, listening and giving language to experiences and also bringing solution.
I think that is powerful, giving language to experiences. So if you're watching, we're talking about what can we do? We're looking at, we don't have the answers to everything, but we're doing our own bit. Elia, what can you do?
Well, as you know, I am a parent and education coach, and a lot of the work that I do centers really primarily around parents, empowering parents to be able to be the strongest and best advocates they can be for their children. And I shared my story with you before that my parents are of West African origin. I grew up here in the UK with the UK education system, but they hadn't got a clue. So a lot of the information sharing, the questions, they didn't know the right questions to ask, and the school weren't giving them the right information to help me be the best that I could be when I was initially starting in school. And I grew up realizing that I didn't want other children to be on that lonely journey of education where their parents can't support them because they don't understand the system. So my primary focus is, as well as helping parents have self-care, is really to help them understand the UK education system and to understand the different transitions from year to year and what they should be expecting and seeing, at each key stage. I always give my clients the analogy that if you were in a restaurant, you ordered food, if you waited for food for the equivalent hours that your child was in school and the plate was empty, you're not going to sit down saying nothing about it. You'd say something, you'd make inquiries. And so I am now helping those parents to be inquisitive, to make those inquiries, to be observant, to let them know that yes, while the system is making you turn around this hamster wheel constantly, you can have moments in time where you're reflectively looking, asking questions of your children to see how they're progressing and when they're progressing. If they're going to things like parents' evening, you're not going there for information to be thrown at you. You're going there equipped with questions to ask them just saying that your child is fine and they're very friendly. Those are what I call weasel words, that they're no use. They don't stress the academic ability of your child, or state whether your child is doing well in that environment. So it's all those things, trying to know and understand how to pick the right schools, the things to look for, not the typical Ofsted ratings that you think are the best. You know, we're known for going, especially in the African community, we're known for going to areas because they've heard that the school is the best school. But it may be the best school on paper, but not necessarily for your child's mental health and well-being. So helping them to understand that.
I think so. Can we all agree? Do we all agree that we are, in our own different ways, we are going to do something? We are part of the solution. We don't have all the answers, but we will do, and we want to encourage other people that are hearing us. I think this is a powerful platform because, like we said, we're telling our stories. Really, we're not just saying that, we're not just throwing it at people, we're telling our stories, and that's why it is called Echoes of Our Community. We're trying to listen, and we're trying to say, look, we are part of that community and we can do it as a collective.
Can you tell us about your work? That's part of the solution.
So like I think I said, that I run 2 organizations, but working mainly with parents. But I don't just do it because I know that I've sat on different places where they talk about, the young person. I look at the holistic angle. It can't just be the young person, it's the parents as well. So it's about how do we support the parents to support the child. So I do a lot of activities like the after school, the holiday programs, the parenting programs, the support in terms of where is the identity of the parent, whether it's through immigration, whether it's through housing, benefits. There are different angles. So I've been able over the years to mentor a lot of parents that have actually become volunteers in my organization. And through that, they've actually started working in my organization. And so the idea is that they are now encouraged because of that lived experience. They've been through the pain of sleeping on the streets. They've been through the pain of not having their immigration sorted. They've been through that, and they've now been able to say, yes, actually, there's hope for them. And that is part of the work that I do, and I'm excited to do that.
Just jump in and give more language to actually what she does.
Okay.
Things like cooking classes and people leaving with food packages, not just cooked food, but raw ingredients and recipe cards so that they can provide healthy meals for their children when they're home. Things like sewing classes and having the volunteers teaching how to sew, how to mend things, and upskilling them so that they have skills that they can actually get employment. Holiday clubs where bringing in other community groups and giving them a platform and making sure they are paid and they are valued so that they can also share their skill set, making sure that the young children are also valued in terms of, if it's, I can speak on the poetry angle, doing a workshop, but then pushing them to publish a book so that they can be like, oh, look, we've published a book. Here is a physical, output of the work you are doing. And I've actually observed children that were there from young, and then I'm seeing them as teenagers having such confidence.
That's where you're coming.
having such confidence, and even the parents from when they enter having such confidence. I'm talking people who've maybe been there for 10 plus years, now running things, now having the confidence to empower other parents, even those who are elderly in the community. So it's not just what she said. They're specific.
Oh, see, they're trying to sell it. They're selling me now. I don't know how to do it.
She does a 12-week program with
My Child and Me
parents called My Child and Me. I work alongside her as an education specialist there. This program, when I tell you, even from the first day that we were on that program, listening to the parents speaking, some of them didn't even have a voice, to hear them confidently say and even consider the fact that everybody that they met were family, hearing them share their personal stories in this space where they would never speak to anybody before is something. So that 12-week program is
So
another
that
thing
program
that she
is
does.
about looking at mental health through the culture, through the lens of culture, and parents that don't speak English, parents that are just coming in and understanding the school system, the health system, but we make it fun. And I want to say thank you for promoting me, because I don't really know how to
And
sell myself.
we want to say thank you for the work that you do, and well done to
Thank-
all of you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank you to you
And
too.
thank you.
Honestly.
This wasn't what we planned,
Yeah.
but you know what? It's good. I think it's good. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm very, very about that creative angle, and that's where the books came in, because I know that we can sell what we do through different platforms. So this is one platform, because we're telling our stories, but also the books we write, the poetry, everything we do is telling that story that people, somebody out there can connect to, somebody out there will need an answer to. It's not just about, yes, there's data, there's stats, but there's also about the qualitative nature of that is real. Because I've had people come to say, yo, you're telling my story, and people need to hear that. So I think that is what we're doing on this platform, and I really want to say thank you for that. Thank you so much. I think on that note, we are going to end this segment, and I want to say thank you. This wasn't planned. So if you're watching Echoes of Our Community, we were just sharing what we can do and what we are doing to make the change that we need. We don't want to just talk, but let's one final word from everybody to end the segment.
Never give up. Never give up. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
I think we spoke on a previous segment about hope.
Yes.
And for me, this segment where this discussion we just have gave me hope. You know, you're doing incredible work. And sometimes I think we need to raise the awareness and understand on a deeper level the work that is happening and the efforts that people are making. And I think your humility speaks volumes as well, you know, that you would rather elevate the work that you're doing way over any praise or personal gratification. So that's really admirable, and that gives me hope. So thank you for
so much.
having
Thank you.
me.
Thank you so much.
Something that came up in one of the podcast episodes was it takes a village to raise a child, and oftentimes we say, where is the village? And the village is disappearing. But in terms of what we can do our part to be that village again, and bring solution and rebuild the village. So
We are that village.
we are that village.
We are
and
that
what
village.
are you doing as well?
Yeah.
Devlin, thank you. I want to thank you for actually asking that question, because as you quite rightly said, we don't want things to be a talking shop. We are providing solutions as best as we can. We're not saying that our solutions are the silver bullet that will cure everything, but it's our parts, our little parts in our little individual ways that are collectively making a difference.
Oh, thank you so much. And so, yes, that's it on this segment. We are doing something, and I feel so humbled because, I feel a bit emotional, but it's been good in the sense that the work continues, and we will continue. So I'll see you next time on Echoes of Our Community. Thank you. Bye.